Uh, Great. So I want to welcome you all to this session. We're going to be focusing on maximizing utility incentives for affordable housing. And as the executive director of HDC, I'm truly privileged and honored to kick us off for this important discussion. We do have an impressive lineup of speakers who are going to be sharing with all of you insights on how we can truly harness utility incentives to bolster affordable housing production and preservation across our region. And before we delve into the presentations, I do want to express my deep gratitude to the HDC team that's been helping pull all of this work together, in Laura, Frankie, as well as Joanne, providing support, and Lauren on our team providing oversight and support across the board. I also want to express gratitude to our facilitator of the day, and John from Willdan, and John is going to be not only facilitating, but guiding us through the session and ensuring that we have a smooth running discussion. We're also incredibly honored to have Dawn Lindell, the general manager of Seattle City Light, who is with us today. I think her presence for us really underscores the collaborative effort between public utility and organizations like ours in tackling housing affordability issues. And throughout the agenda today, we will hear from experts representing various utility programs, including folks from the Puget Sound Energy, Snohomish County PUD, and Seattle City Light. And I think from the prep conversations we've had, each presentation really promises to shed some light on incentives that are available and opportunities for you as providers to maximize those utility incentives through collaboration with each of the different represented agencies. We will have time dedicated to engage, share insights, do some back and forth on multifamily new construction, retrofit programs, and other sustainability measures that they have incentives for, or some programs that you're able to tap. So I'm truly excited for the invaluable discussion that we're going to have here and the ideas that I anticipate will emerge coming out of this discussion. But without further ado, I do want to take time and go a little bit more in depth in providing an introduction for Dawn Lindell as the new general manager and CEO of Seattle City Light. Dawn and I are getting to know each other, and my initial impression of her since we met is overwhelmingly positive. In my recent discussion with her, I was very impressed by her profound understanding of our collective needs and truly her impressive background, which to me positions her to be the most ideal person to lead this large municipal utility. We know that her utility experience positions her not only to continue to provide the exceptional service that Seattle City Light has given over the years, but also it's the right moment in time when we have some potential disruptions in terms of supply chains and workforce shortages across the board. But we have the right leader at the helm to drive all of this work. But I think most importantly, her vision for Seattle City Light deeply resonates with our organizational goals. Her dedication to enhancing their customer service and operational efficiency to us is commendable, and her deep commitment to affordable housing as a priority is reassuring to us. So it is my honor to welcome and pass the mic on to Dawn, who is going to take it from here.
Wow, thank you, Patience. You've just warmed my heart. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So, on behalf of Seattle City Light, it is an honor to be part of the Housing Development Consortium's Affordable Housing Week. Today's presentation, which is titled Maximizing Utility Incentives for Affordable Housing, will be moderated by Willdan's John Bringenberg and will feature speakers from Snohomish County, PUD, Puget Sound Energy, and Seattle City Light. So you're going to hear about utility programs that support housing developments with a focus on new construction through the Early Design Assistance Program, which all of these utilities are to participate in. We are thrilled to see this level of engagement and appreciate the time that you are taking out of your day to learn more about how regional utilities help you meet your goals. Emerging technologies and best practices in building energy efficiency have dramatically transformed the marketplace, and there is a significant need to increase the adoption and implementation of emerging technologies and best practices in low to middle income multifamily buildings, particularly in underserved and underrepresented communities. Pacific Northwest utilities can certainly help make an impact here as we work to create our energy future, promote equity, and bolster affordable housing development. City Light's portfolio of energy programs plays a significant role in delivering on our mission to provide customers with affordable, reliable, and environmentally responsible energy service. We aim to meet the needs of our customers by improving existing efficiency programs and creating new programs as the opportunities arise. City Light is delivering on this by providing incentives and support for the development of new, highly efficient buildings and retrofitting existing buildings to help increase performance and pass on energy savings to residents and to business owners. Utilities like City Light can help you better navigate energy improvements, subsidize energy assessments, and leverage federal funding like the Inflation Reduction Act. We hope that this presentation will be a good start of that conversation. I want to thank Patience Malaba, the Executive Director of the Housing Development Consortium, for hosting and providing the opportunity to connect with each of you. So thank you for your time, and City Light looks forward to working with you in the future. John, I think you are up next. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dawn, and welcome to Washington. I'm going to grab the screen and bring up the slides so we can look at our agenda and and dive into our program. So, can everyone see this this slide here?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. So our topics, we've gone through some introductions. We're going to go through a few more. We'll talk a little bit about how these programs work. They work a little differently in Seattle City Light than currently in Puget Sound Energy and Snohomish PUD, and we'll go through that. We're going to present a case study. We'll try to be brief, but we thought that would be useful. And then we will try to preserve some time for questions. For further introductions, we've met Dawn. I'm John Bringenberg. I do what we call outreach for Willdan, and that currently is to support our energy design assistance programs with Snohomish County PUD and Puget Sound Energy. Gunnar Brent is on our team, and you'll hear from him a little later in the presentation. He manages all of our state energy design assistance programs. We have Amit from Puget Sound Energy. We have Rob McManus from Snohomish County PUD. You'll hear from both of those shortly. Armando Burdell is going to explain the programs that are currently offered by Seattle City Light, so you'll hear him in a moment as well. So let me push ahead, and let me hand it off to Amit Amit, I'll move the slides forward, and we'll have you say a few words about Puget Sound Energy.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everyone. So as John mentioned in the last slide, my name is Amit Singh. I'm a program manager in the Customer Energy Management Department at Puget Sound Energy. And one of the programs that I manage is multifamily new construction rebates, and that'll be what I focus on with these slides. So first, just a kind of general overview of PSE. We serve kind of the I-5 corridor. So, up from like Bellingham down to Olympia. And then we go over to over on the east side a little bit over the mountains to Ellensburg. We have 1.2 million electric customers and about 900,000 natural gas customers, again, mostly across Western Washington and along that I-5 corridor. We are committed to net zero energy by 2030 and 100% carbon free by 2045. So yeah, as I mentioned on the last slide, I work in the Customer Energy Management Department. We used to be the Energy Efficiency Department, but as some of our programs are evolving, we recently rebranded to Customer Energy Management. So we empower customers to reduce and shift their energy use. Obviously, reduce would be energy efficiency, and then shift would kind of be more along the lines of demand response. The core projects within our department are the deployment of the biennial conservation plans. That's a 2-year plan that we submit to the Utility and Transportation Commission, where we outline all our programs and our budgets and our savings targets. And then we have also we've launched our demand response programs within the past year. So many of those are now up and running. And we also have some targeted electrification programs where we're encouraging shifting of heating from essentially furnaces to heat pumps. Equity is very integral to the CEM department. We have many programs that are centered around equity, programs that target small businesses, multifamily properties, and then we have and for a lot of our programs, we have higher rebates for customers that have low to moderate incomes. And kind of drilling down to one specific program within CEM. So our multifamily new construction program. This is the program that we partner with Willdan on, and that Willdan will be reviewing during this presentation. It's a whole building performance approach, so it pays you for each unit of energy saved. So basically, for each kilowatt hour or each therm that you save, compared to code, essentially, we will incentivize you for those savings. We do have affordable housing incentives that are 50% higher than our standard incentives. So our unit incentive for standard market rate multifamily new construction is 45 cents a kilowatt hour, and then for affordable housing that bumps up to 68 cents per kilowatt hour. And our affordable housing definition is aligned with the definition for the Washington State Housing Finance Commission's low-income housing tax credit programs. And I'll hand it back to John.
I think John, there we go. Yeah, thank you. And we want to introduce Rob McManus from Snohomish PUD. And Rob, I'll move the slides forward, and we'll have you explain a little bit about your programs and your utility.
Certainly. Nice array of pictures here. Good afternoon. Glad to join you all this afternoon. I'm actually a fill-in host. Our program manager is attending a conference right now, Allison Grinzel. She's the one with all the details. I support the EDA program that we have. We've really enjoyed our friendship and partnership with Willdan. We've been using them for about the last 3 years, and we've had a lot of success with that. I do need to do a little bit of a shout out on one of these pictures, lower left. That's Ryan Vlahovic. He's one of my Eagle Scouts, and that's his Eagle Scout project. So we do a wide array of community outreach. I'm not sure if anybody participated in our block party recently. It was very, very popular. The kids certainly like the bucket rides as well. But if you'll move on to the next slide, please. How to reach us, Snohomish, snowpud.com. We are the bedroom community just north of Seattle and just north of and south of PSC. Which were blanketed, that gray block in the middle when Emmett showed his showed the PSC. We're right in the middle. We do share customers with PSC, and we've got a very close working relationship with them. We provide the electricity. PSC is our gas provider for most of our Snohomish County residents. So we do have a lot of overlap. We do share customer information when we find that we are working one that has gas. We've got a number of different programs for reaching out to our lower income folks. We're really pleased to be seeing a lot more of the affordable housing type projects roll through, and the fact that we can incorporate those with EDA's really incredible program in terms of getting to customers before the first shovel of dirt is turned over, and that was a real gap for us. So Willdan has certainly filled that, and our customers are benefiting as a result. Here are just a few of our programs. We have budget payment plans, billing assistance. We do have an online marketplace, and I would ask you to take a look at that. There's some freebies. Depending on your income level, there are actually some free items there for you as well. And we have a 50% bonus for income qualified new construction. I'll pass it back to you, John. I'm interested in the case studies and the meat and potatoes of this presentation.
Okay, super. Well, now I'm going to hand off to Armando to talk about Seattle City Lights programs and what is on the horizon for Seattle City Light as well. And over to you, Armando.
Thank you very much, John. I am the Energy Program Delivery Manager for Seattle City Light. Bit of a word here. I'll be presenting on many program topics, but at a very high level. So if I have a call to action, if you have interest in a specific topic, please reach out to me, or in the next slide, I'll have contact information for our energy advisors, live humans that will answer all of your energy questions from City Light. Lastly, the slides that I have some live links. If they may be shared after the presentation, and if not, happy to provide them offline. And if you see there, we have our service territory. We serve almost 500,000 customers in the city of Seattle and the surrounding cities that we call franchise cities. At the north with Shoreline and Lake Forest Park, and at the south with Normandy Park, SeaTac, Tukwila. Thanks to the ownership of several dams and long-term hydroelectric contracts, Seattle City Light has a rather renewable electricity supply of over 90% of our fuel mix is emissions-free. And we do purchase carbon offsets for the remaining generation mix. If you see the bottom right there, I'll have it at this slide and the last slide, our contact information for our energy advisors for any questions or interest on any of the topics that I go forward. Thank you, John. So some solutions for affordable housing development. We partner with the Office of Housing in the city of Seattle for a program called HomeWise, whereas if your development is over 50% income qualified, there is a set of implementers, contractors that will provide up to 90% incentivization of a project for anything having to do with boilers, insulation, LED lighting, windows, refrigerators or other appliances, ventilation, and building controls. Again, you see the live link there. Happy to share after the presentation. But a great program for affordable housing properties to leverage. Did want to also mention for tenants, that are income qualified, we do have what's called a utility discount program where we subsidize 60% of the utility bill if they qualify. For market rate existing properties, we have a couple of programs for both lighting and HVAC that have discounts at distribution. You'll see the heat pump or heat pump water heating rebates for $100 and $600 discount rebates per unit with a contractor spiff. A lot of T-LEDs and lamps in our lighting to go midstream program through all the way through exterior fixtures, and you'll see the funding levels there. Our multifamily weatherization program, you see some of our incentives for the envelopes on the right-hand side in the image. Lastly, we also do have our traditional bread and butter commercial industrial retrofit program with a lot of programs for lighting, network lighting controls, and anything along the lines of aging HVAC equipment, motors, pumps. So again, the main call to action, please engage with us. Lastly, we do have a new measure for package terminal heat pumps where we will pay $300 per unit. Next slide, please, John. Additionally, at the end of last year, we launched what we call a project development incentive. That is a supplemental incentive, also known as a contractor spiff, where Seattle City Light pays an additional 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour saved on a project to offset the administrative costs associated with managing incentive programs to rebate the timeline. We know it takes time and effort out of your staff to manage these programs. Happy to support a little bit of that with some funding on our end. We'll just have an example there. When it comes to new construction, we are transitioning programs. So our existing program, we look at the total building performance pathway, where at the bottom image, you see a little bit of the dashboard, what we look at, the generation, the heating, water heating, lighting, electrical, and through all the savings, as you compare to code, be it 2018, 2021, that will be implemented, we'll pay 23 cents a kilowatt hour. We'll pay a lot more if your development is looking to achieve that passive house certification. And we do have some equipment rebates as well. If your building is still permitted under 2015 code, we may have some rebates for heat pump water heaters. Next slide, please, John. Additionally, Seattle City Light has been working with the Housing Development Consortium on what we call the Exemplary Buildings Affordable Housing Demonstrations, where City Light chose to fund 4 affordable housing properties well over our incentive levels to demonstrate highly efficient buildings being designed and developed at an affordable price. The goals for these 4 buildings were to reduce 40% of energy savings compared to the 2015 Seattle Energy Code, where these projects were permitted. And the target energy use intensity, the EUI, is 20 kilobtu's per square foot per year. Last thing I'll say here is one of the buildings has completed at the end of 2022, the Hobson building, where you see the images here. You know, we'll have 5 heat pumps and storage tanks. We have some electric resistance as backup. And the exciting part now is now that it's complete, and the others will be completing this and next year, we'll be studying and already have a lot of lessons learned and data to go through to help us understand how to design these efficient buildings. And it's been a great partnership with the Housing Development Consortium working there. I think I have my last 2 slides here. I mentioned new construction programs are under development. We are going to be working with Willdan as our prospective implementer for early design assistance, which they'll explain in detail after I am done yapping. We are also going to launch after 2025 a strategic energy management or SEM program for both commercial and multifamily properties, where we will have 12-month cohorts, and the goal are to meet the city and state building performance standards. We'll also have a residential program to subsidize energy assessments and point homeowners from single and multifamily homes to Inflation Reduction Act programs and our existing rebates. And lastly, we're going to launch a community solar program where communities will have a solar project and customers in the vicinity can benefit from that renewable electricity at a reduced rate. Last thing to say here, one more time, did speak about a lot on a very high level. We have a department of real humans. They're not chatbots, they're not AI. They're actual humans that will answer phones, emails, and forms if you have any questions to engage with us for any technical support or financial opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks, Armando. I'm going to go quickly through the next section so that we can get to the case study. But the territories that Willdan currently serves, we've already looked at this map, and basically we serve everything here except for Seattle City Light, and we look forward to enrolling projects into the program you're about to learn about with Seattle City Light in the near future, hopefully by first quarter of next year. We're also a national company, so we do these same programs in about 20 other states. And what is design assistance? So this is a free analysis. We use energy modeling software, and we will analyze your current plans, and we'll also present you with some stretch goals to consider. It is a free program paid for by the utilities through a special ratepayer fund. And there's never any obligation to do any of the things we suggest, but we find that we can often help save more energy on a project than you might have imagined during design. And so why participate? Well, we just talked about getting an energy modeling and design review of your project and some other important features, and to ultimately lower energy costs for your tenants and your owners. These programs tend to be pertinent to all new construction, but here today with this audience, we're talking about affordable housing, multifamily projects, and projects that are over 5,000 square feet generally apply. And if there's a reason why it doesn't, we will simply inform you. We want to learn about all of your projects, 100%. What to expect? It's a collaboration process. We like to get involved early during the design. We use modeling software, as we've mentioned. Ours is called NEO, Net Energy Optimizer. It results in a full-fledged energy modeling report for your project, and it will summarize in a sort of like a bundle type fashion. Like you can think of it as like good, better, best. So we will show you the performance of what you're thinking about, as well as the performance of some stretch goals, so that you'll be able to make what they call in healthcare informed decisions. And I'm going to, again, go quickly through this slide here, so because Gunnar has some case study information to share. But it's really best for us to be involved in your process during the end of schematic design or beginning of design development. That is where you and your developers will get the maximum benefit, and the utility will also get the maximum benefit. So that's the best time to get these projects in our hopper. We have streamlined the actual process that you go through to 5 simple steps. We only need your participation on the first 3 steps, which is a 5-minute online enrollment, about a 30-minute meeting to learn a little bit about your project. Then our engineering team will go back and actually run the models and come back a few weeks later for step 3, which is the second meeting. And out of that meeting, we know how to manage that meeting, so it only lasts about an hour to an hour and a half, but we'll get a lot of work done in that meeting. And then throughout this entire process, we will document so that there's not a document burden on you. We will keep that on our side. And then towards the end of construction, we manage the last 2 steps. We will do a verification process, make note of any changes to the modeling that we did early in design, and then we will turn that verification, which is a complex paperwork step, we'll turn that into a form that the utility needs so that they can get a check out to the developer. And so with that, I want to hand over to our state manager, and so that we can look at a case study. So let me hand it off, and Gunnar, you can take the microphone.
Great. Thank you, John. And thank you everyone else, Rob, Amit, Armando, for presenting a little bit about the programs provided to and from the utilities in Western Washington. I just want to say that we are really happy, and we wouldn't be able to implement some of these programs without the partnership and expertise from the utilities. So thank you all for speaking about the programs. For those who don't know, my name is Gunnar. I am the Energy Efficiency Program Manager at Willdan. It's my job to manage relationships between customers like affordable housing developers and the utilities, and to find and maximize incentives wherever is possible. So for today, we're going to talk a little bit about a case study. We're going to imagine a hypothetical building in Bellevue, assuming it's 100,000 square feet, and that most of the square footage is dedicated towards the dwelling units. Some square footage is dedicated towards the corridors and common areas, and the rest is dedicated toward garage space. For simplicity, we're just going to use an even 100 units spread across 5 stories. And we're going to say that it's located in Bellevue, Washington, where we can pull weather file data to inform our energy model. And then with that, we would run a simulation with our energy modeling software, Neo, to come up with results. And those results are really powerful because Neo is a comparative analysis between what is proposed in design and plans and what is potentially stretch goals, like John had mentioned. So what do we do with the model when we have it? Well, we can pull a lot of information from the model. But for this exercise, I think it's going to be best if we imagine a cost comparison between 2 different primary heating systems. So in this graph on the left, you can see that we're going with electric resistance heating in the apartments. And on the right side, you see the energy costs associated with each of the equipment types. So you have interior equipment, lighting, domestic hot water, fans, cooling, and heat. And it totals to what is the total cost to implement all of those all of that equipment for this given project. And the cool thing about Neo and how we do energy design assistance is that we could say then, well, what if we went with heat pumps as the primary heating source for the apartments? In this scenario, we swap electric resistance out for heat pumps, and you can see we actually save on heating but incur higher cooling costs. So it's important to recognize that, you know, though you can make changes, their costs will carry over between different system types. And that's kind of the neat thing, is that you'll be able to see the comparison in graphs and in costs when doing energy design assistance. So that's sort of the takeaway there. A big question that a lot of customers ask is, where can we improve? So where is sort of the best bang for your buck? Where's the lowest hanging fruit? What's the things that what we want to see affordable housing developers do, but maybe we're just not getting there yet? And some typical targets that we like to shoot for in regards to lighting power density, most projects will either select a reduction in lighting power density of around 30%, but we'd really like to see them do 60%. So, you know, assuming a lighting power density beyond the code compliant sort of fixtures you have to put in, we really can understand and see that that's a lot of low hanging fruit, and that when projects improve their lighting, their incentives bump up considerably. John, will you go to the next slide, please? So lighting is sort of one of those, but a lot of the questions we also get is, what are some tips or tricks that I should know about? And it can come down to sort of 3 big categories. We talk a lot about lighting, we talk a lot about appliances, and we all talk a lot about architectural. So in regards to lighting, put the light fixtures in. We don't incentivize switched outlets. And for appliances, particularly related to laundry, they are eligible. In-unit laundry is eligible. What is not, unfortunately, is leased equipment, in which you might have a sort of a shared laundry area that you then get an external laundry person to put the washers and dryers in. So that's an important thing to remember, is that we don't incentivize leased equipment. When we're going through energy design assistance, it's also important to not get lost in the choices. You can kind of get wrapped up with the idea of, well, if we're, selecting a high efficiency heat pump, or if we're going with triple pane windows, then we're beholden to that. But you have to remember that the program is designed as a performance incentive. We are guides to maximizing incentive. And in no way and shape do we ever require or dictate that you install those things. We're merely opening the possibility that your incentive and the cost savings you could receive would be this amount if you did implement those things. So just an important reminder that we are not code officials, we are consultants, and we're there to help you maximize your incentive, especially for affordable housing projects. So now that we've kind of gone over some of the topics in relation to NEO and the leverage points that I talked about, what does the bundling exercise really look like? And John had already illustrated that it kind of cuts out to be good, better, best. So in this scenario, you'll see that there's bundle 1, which might be a code compliant building under the 2018 code. Building bundle 2 might be an improved performance, and bundle 3 might be more of a stretch goal. I'm going to leave a caveat here that this is sort of representative of projects and previous codes, and with the new code changes, there are a lot of things that might not apply here necessarily. So just keep that in mind when I'm talking about each of these bundles. Bundle 1 has basic walls and windows, electric resistance heating, Energy Star rated ventilation, lighting power densities for each space area for the apartments, common areas, and garages, and for plug loads, Energy Star refrigerators. So assuming this is a code compliant building, the incentives would be 0 because the savings would be 0. You're essentially designing to be just meet code. And with bundle 2, you sort of take, again, some of the lowest maybe hanging fruit, lighting and appliances. So what if instead you changed your lighting power density from 0.43 to 0.32, and so on and so forth? And what if instead only installing Energy Star qualified refrigerators, you did all Energy Star appliances? And then you can start to see that the energy savings and incentives will tick up between $4,000 to $16,000, and it will vary depending on the size and scope of each improvement. Now, the stretch goal, which almost ironically has almost become some of the baselines for the new 2021 code, used to have the highest savings. So I'm going to be excited to see how that shakes out. But for a 2018 project, you might expect the architectural to remain the same, but for the windows to improve. Perhaps no changes in the mechanical system, and lighting could maintain the same. Ideally, we would like to see the lighting improved for bundle 3 for the new year projects under the 2021 code, but we're going to just keep it simple and stick with the lighting as the same. Plug loads, if you swapped from an Energy Star refrigerator and you kept that the same, the biggest savings metric and the biggest savings provider here is heat pump water heating. Now, for those who may be savvy with the code, again, you might understand that is replacing electric resistance and fossil fuel equipment as the primary water service heating device. But still, it has tremendous savings, and I've seen time and time again in case studies, and even in some of the instances with some of the projects with Seattle City Light's exemplary building program, that heat pump hot water heating has been a huge cost saver and generating lots of incentives for projects. So we'd really like to continue that trend, and I think that's probably going to be sort of the norm going forward with new construction. All this to say is that when we sit down and have this meeting, you can pick and choose what works given your budget constraints. We understand that there's some things that can change and there's some things that cannot, but we really want to maximize the incentive available to affordable housing projects, and think of us as just another sort of part of the overall portfolio that can make an affordable housing project pencil out. That's really all I have to share. So I think we have maybe some contact info about where you can find us. You can apply for our program at energyassistance.willdan.com for Puget Sound Energy's multifamily new construction program. And for Snohomish PUD, we manage all new commercial projects. So you can find our application through that link. And for Seattle City Light, we advise you contact an energy advisor and email them your information about your project. I don't know if there's any other slides beyond that, but I want to thank everyone and give the opportunity here now for questions and answers. So feel free to throw those in the chat, or let me know what you're curious about.
Yeah, thanks, Gunnar. And we do have ample time for questions. So let us know, or if you want to let us know about a project that's in your pipeline as a candidate. We can give you a little bit of information about that. So anyway, we'll look for getting any questions. I'm not seeing the chat. Oh, here we go. Yeah, now I've got the chat window open because that'll help me if there are some in the chat. Hey, I just want to reinforce something that Gunnar said. In addition to having a great relationship with the utilities that we work with in the market, we also serve on the Exemplary Homes Task Force, and HDC has been a terrific partner. They are very much a market leader in looking out for the best interests for the at a policy level, at a building level, at a design level, in all manner and ways and shapes and form. And the folks that participate with us and with HDC on these committees are the best and brightest in the market, trying to help make your projects as energy efficient as they can be, and to be truly exemplary. So we appreciate that relationship as well. So let me take a look at if there's any questions that have come in through the chat. Where do light-colored roofing or green roofs fit into energy efficiency and reducing carbon footprint? If anyone, either Gunnar or any of our utility representatives want to discuss that, light-colored roofing or reflective roofing, essentially.
Yeah, I'll chime in on that. So yeah, we do take in consideration light color, highly reflectivity roofs as part of one of the strategies that you can pick. As far as the actual like percentage or metric and kWh savings we see, I can't speak to that, but it is something that we have seen, and it does save energy when we go out and verify that it has been implemented.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Anyone else care to chime in on that, on reflective roofs? Okay, thanks for that question, Kelly Wardle. Scott Crosby from Anchor Moyson I think this is less a question and more just sharing an experience. But for an exemplary building from Seattle Housing Authority, it was the Sawara project. The heat pump water heat system, all by itself, equated to an improvement in EUI by 6 points. Armando, is that a project you're familiar with?
Correct, John. And if I am not mistaken, it should be complete sometime later this year. And will
Later this month, hopefully. Yes.
is beautiful, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go through a walkthrough provided by HTC, and I saw the huge, marshmallow-sized storage containers. Ecotope had done a super awesome job, so I was really impressed by that project.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, good. We have a question for the case study that Gunnar presented with a stretch version of 124,000 incentives. Can you share about how much of a cost offset that might have been?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So asking about cost offsets. So typically the energy, so there's an incremental cost, right, to go from the basic design, right, assuming baseline code compliant building to more efficient. And we see paybacks between the realm of like 5 to 10 years, depending on how aggressive the strategy is. So in terms of cost offset, I mean, you could think, yeah, you basically reimburse yourself in 4 to 5 years on the highly aggressive side, and maybe 10 to 15 years on the less aggressive side. So that's a simple payback, but again, that simple payback doesn't capture necessarily all the benefits of to take into consideration the present value of whatever equipment you're trying to swap out or improve. But for the most part, we see paybacks between 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, Gunnar, that even though I think in this case study that we presented, we didn't put a spotlight on that part of the data, but when we do an energy design assistance program with your projects, we do have that information. It comes out of our modeling, and it'll give you an approximate market rate for making a step improvement to triple glaze, triple pane glazing, as an example, or a thicker building envelope, or things of that nature. So that is part of the process, despite we didn't spotlight that in this case study. Let's see, there is there's a question from Kate Lemley, basically about smaller projects, single-family homeowners doing retrofits in their homes, or small single-family homes. Habitat for Humanity often does that style of construction. Can any of our or all of our utility representatives comment on programs available in that category?
Sure, I can go. I can start at least. Yeah, PSC has a number of rebates for single-family homes, existing single-family homes. We have window rebates, heat pump water heater rebates, heat pump rebates. We have some really great weatherization rebates for insulation and air sealing. We raised those significantly at the beginning of this year. So yeah, I posted a link there in the chat to our main rebate page. And we also have energy advisors that you can contact that will be able to answer any questions you have about our programs.
Anyone else? I noticed that Rob, you also put a link,
Yep.
and I think Armando, you made a reply there as well with a link. So yeah, so that's good. And again, we know that not all affordable housing are 4-story buildings. We know that there's a lot of variance there, especially for the hardest and the most impacted of the population that needs affordable housing. Let's see, Brett Barbakoff has a question about explain the 900 unit for doing passive house after the project is officially certified. So if there are any, I think Armando is the one that described a special, I think, kicker for a passive house project.
That is correct. If for City Lights new construction for that passive house certification, we will pay $900 per living unit on that project.
I will say, and we're you know, we're always proud to see that that standard being used. We just enrolled a project in Olympia with Habitat for Humanity that is I can't remember the size of the project, but it's a mid-size, a good-size project, and is striving to achieve the passive house construction certification. And let's see, Cliff is making a basically adding to the conversation a correction. Habitat for Humanity affiliates differ on doing single family. Our affiliates, Seattle King and County, they don't regularly do single family at this stage. They do more like middle housing types generally. And yeah, thanks for that. And we actually see that as a trend, a sort of a necessary and economic trend for a variety of reasons. And we're seeing that actually in other states that we operate in as well. So that is a trend. Thanks for that, Cliff. Other questions? I might throw a question out for for our utility representatives. Often, one of the most common questions that we hear when we are talking to folks, especially for the first time, is where in the heck does this money come from? If this is a free program, it involves engineers, it involves energy modeling. Where does the money come from? Yeah, Amit, can you take a swag at that?
The money for the money for our programs, it's all ratepayer funded. So essentially during our like long-term planning, energy efficiency and now demand response are put up against kind of they're compared to building a new power plant. And like the levelized costs are compared. That's kind of how our targets are set. But yeah, it's all ratepayer funded. It's a line item on customers' bills. And as I mentioned, like we have a 2-year plan where we submit all our programs, all our savings, all our budgets for those savings. But it has to be cost effective, right? It has to be cost effective savings that's comparable to like, you know, building a power plant. So I think that's a really key component of our programs is the cost effective part. And we have to be very thoughtful about how we spend that money because it is directly ratepayer funded.
Yeah, Armando or Rob, anything you would add to that? That's a pretty good answer.
Yep. No, we purchased a majority of our power from Bonneville Power Administration, and we have a program where we work with them, and about 75% of our monies, our energy efficiency monies, is a return from BPA. We rate base about 25% of that. And that's where a majority of ours comes from.
Okay.
Very, very much agreeing. Ratepayer funded, thus why as we want to be fiscally responsible with our ratepayer funds, we ensure that there is that fiduciary responsibility on our programs. Similarly, we'll get reimbursed for Bonneville Power Administration programs, and sometimes they will develop a measure or an incentive, and we, City Light, will administer it and pass through the funds through the BPA contract. And we're all excited for the Inflation Reduction Act that I hear will be launching early next year as well, and that'll be another way for federal funds to be included in the mix of programs. Exciting piece about federal dollars, there is this Justice 40 initiative from the Department of Energy where we need to demonstrate that 40% of these federal funds are going to low, middle income, vulnerable populations.
Yeah, thanks for that, Armando. It's good to mention the Justice 40 component, as particularly on federal grants and funds that move down into state programs and utility programs. But that was a great answer, Amit. I would just add to your answer when a developer is thinking about what that means for my project. You're building a building and you're designing a building that's going to be there for 50 years or longer. And if we can save even a little bit of energy on that, that starts to accumulate. And so, as Amit was saying, that means that these utilities do not have to generate as much electricity for the next 50 or more years. That is a big savings. So that is the way that we return dollars to the ratepayer for the money they let us use for these programs. And that's another way of looking at it from your project level. We're coming up to the end of our hour, and so we want to thanks, Angela. Hope no one's building things for just 50 years anymore. Great comment. Great comment. And we do lunch and learns for our architecture partners and our developer partners. And one of our programs actually speaks to that topic about the longevity of these buildings and the fact that we don't want them to become stranded assets because we didn't do a good design back in 2024 or 2025. We want to do good design now so that those buildings are valuable in 50 or 60 or 70 years. And let's see, FamLam, with hydropower generation reducing, what's being done to minimize future electricity rate increases that impact lower income families more significantly? That's a big question. We only have a short amount of time, but does anybody have an answer on any special rates for low income or any special programs on the rate side?
We recently launched a bill discount rate program that I think it's for customers. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's for customers below 80% AMI. I think there's different buckets, so like a different percentage of your bill is covered depending on where you are in that AMI bucket. But that was recently launched. Part of the regulation that gets us to that the Clean Energy Transformation Act that gets us to 100% clean energy by 2045 as a state. There's a lot of stipulations in there that essentially force utilities to relieve low income households of that cost burden. So we have a lot of programs that are launching for that. One of them being bill discount rate that's already launched.
With that, I think let me hand it back to Joanne and Laura, and we thank everyone for joining us today. This is a great set of questions as well, and so we very much appreciate being able to speak to this community.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you everyone for attending. This is recorded, so it will be uploaded to HDC's YouTube. And we also have a whole other host of events for this week for Affordable Housing Week. So please check out our website and register for those if you're interested. And yeah, again, thank you so much, everyone. And I'll go ahead and close the Zoom room now.
All right, thank you.